Well, good morning, everybody. It's the 20th of May, 2023. And yeah, lots of crazy things still going on, as you know. Not very good things, of course, always. Well, at least that's the things to report on, is all things that are not very good. One was, as you're probably seeing right here, I got some kind of a, wherever that is, can't feel it, some mark on here. I had some sort of a, just to get this cleared up before I go into the news here, I had this sort of a strange spot there. I don't know, it's like dry, reddish kind of skin for like, maybe over a couple of years or something, and wanted to get it looked at. So the doctor, they have to do a little bit of scraping, with a scalpel and, put it under a microscope to figure out what it is. Of course, that'll take some days. And well, I'm in Baranovichi, and I don't know Minsk yet, but apparently I went to this place. It's free. It's doctors and their skin doctors or something like that. So why not? Why not? And then find out what it is. Okay, though. Anyway, cleared that up. I'll try to hold the camera maybe on this side, my best side right now, because I don't have a mark on that side. Okay, now let's talk about some news here. The Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs has placed the International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan, who's a citizen of the UK, they put him on some kind of arrest list as well. He's on a wanted list. 53-year-old citizen of the UK. That, and that, of course, says a lot why he probably hates Putin. I don't know if, I think that the UK is, as far as the citizens are concerned, they're sadly indoctrinated even more than us Americans were to hate Russians, And it's, I don't know, it's just like at the last moment, the Cold War is over and Boris Yeltsin was there, and everybody was coming there to exploit the Russian territories, to suck everything out, farming and industries and everything, and make huge profits. And then we started loving the Russians or something for a little while because we were able to exploit the country. And I don't know. Then when Yeltsin was getting out, he put Putin in charge, and and Putin started taking his country back. I guess you could call it like nationalizing the country, like some people do try to get the American oil companies out of their country, and I guess they call it nationalization of their oil industry. Instead of all the profits or the big profits going to the United States, it stays within the country. And that's sort of like what Putin was slowly doing for a long period of time. And he took the Central Bank of Russia, who was still, it's actually still a Rothschild's bank, I believe, but it's under the control of the Russian government, unlike a lot of other central banks in the world, which are still under the control of a lot of private bankers. So they're getting huge returns on that, and it's run for their benefit and not for the benefit of the country. So that's the opposite of Russia. Russia's central bank is there for the benefit of Russia. And I don't mean to say that all other central banks don't care about the countries where they're the central banks of. It's just that some more and some less than others. So, I don't know. It's a sneaky way on how they make their private profits for private, financial institutions. And anyway, well, let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about this guy still. He's he is the same guy that was saying that Putin is like stealing children from the Ukraine, whatever you consider the occupied Ukraine. If you're a West Ukrainian, you say the East is occupied, and if you're from the Russian side, it's the other part. And it's not occupied by any foreign country, but it's occupied by these people. I guess you call them the Banderites. So anyway, but yes. even though a lot of these other countries, like the United States, a lot of countries don't have anything to do with the International Criminal Court, this United Nations body. However, they're considered, I think it was the Patrushev who said that, but maybe it was Medvedev, or probably more. They say that they're there for the benefit of the West, of the collective West. They do their bidding. And obviously that's the case in this case, unless you, did Putin get a chance to defend himself, or did the Russian side? No, they just said, oh, they're stealing children. And I guess it was Zelensky. And I'll get to what he said to in the Arab. He was in Saudi Arabia, I guess, yesterday, and talking, and what he said there about Putin and children and all that. So it's really ridiculous, and I'll get to that in a minute too, though, because otherwise I get myself off into different tangents like I always do. But anyway, the International Criminal Court, in my opinion, it's like a tiger with no teeth, because the United States said if any of these high politicians are ever convicted of any kind of war crimes, that they would use military force against Holland, Den Haag, if any president or something is ever found guilty. So I don't know. I'm sure Russia's not going to, take kindly to any sort of a incident where if Vladimir Putin was arrested. So it's going to be very similar. Anyway, big difference there between the United States and Russia on whatever happened in those times. Different accusations. Well, anyway, it was Peskov. Peskov said that it was that the International Criminal Court is nothing but a tool of the West. And as you know, I think it was Alex Christoforou. He already mentioned this, I think, a few videos ago, and I saw the tape finally with Zelensky saying that since Russia has control of the Crimea, it's run into decay, and all of the people there, they want to be back to be a part of the Ukraine. All the ethnic Russian people that voted in favor of getting free of Ukraine all want to be back again and part of Ukraine. Like the bridge was never built, and the hospitals were never built, and all that other stuff. So I guess it's all a myth. Zelensky, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that guy. Like I said, I'll get around to the children part where he's talking about the children when I get there. So, but they're all crying to become again part of the Ukraine. And there's a few stories. I didn't put this in chronological order, but I'll be talking also about this Patrushev, the head of the FSB, the security part of the government in Russia, is mentioning this radioactive cloud that's now floating towards Europe. From Khmelnytsky, this explosion where I think Russia sent 4 drones. Apparently that's what the story is, and it destroyed this ammunition place where apparently they said originally that there was fuel kept there as well, and there is speculation that there was a dirty bomb there, but like I said, I'm going to get to this scientist. His name is Chris Busby, and he was talking about the fact, just in case I forget to mention it when I get to there, this black cloud, I guess, more signifies that it was depleted uranium, but it could have been mixed with like a dirty bomb. Maybe it was a dirty bomb that contains depleted uranium. I don't know. I'm not any kind of a nuclear scientist, so forget about that. And as you know, the Bilderbergs now are meeting in Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal. And it's supposed to be a big secret meeting, which everybody always finds out about. Kissinger, I think he's supposed to be there. Kissinger coming out with his BS. Now he changed and said that Ukraine should be a part of NATO and that it's good for Russia. His reasoning, whatever that was, it's just totally ridiculous. He worked for the West his whole life, so and not in favor of Russia, and it's always like, his success as a diplomat was always throwing some of the crumbs to the other side, and then taking the lion's share for the West to make it look like he's a diplomatic person. Always the West is the one that gets the biggest advantages, So he's the one that brokered that deal in 1971 between Saudi Arabia and the United States, where all the oil basically throughout the Arab world should be traded in US dollars. And of course the US has benefited that drastically. And of course that's changing now. And that's actually what made the United States a very rich country. So, and it just made a few people in the Saudi world somewhat rich. But yeah, well, that's a whole nother topic as well to get into. Yeah. And I should mention another point which is not related to Kissinger either, but in the last weeks or so, Poland has now been saying that they want to be the dominant power in Europe. And with what happened there with the pipelines, Norway and the United States primarily were the ones that blew up the Nord Stream pipelines. Everybody knows that by now. That's not a secret. And at the same time, Norway was building a undersea pipeline to Poland to supply Poland with natural gas. And then, of course, the capacity is not anything near what even Nord Stream 1 was or Nord Stream 2, but it was actually significant. And supposedly, Poland should be independent of any other energy. But I don't know if it's enough. They're still getting oil from Russia, I guess. And of course the price is a lot higher, but still Poland is going to be benefiting significantly by this, by getting this natural gas from Norway. And Germany, of course, as we all know, that's, I don't know, they're going to be going downhill, of course, very rapidly. Well, I don't know, what do you call rapidly? Rapidly, in an economic sense, over the next 2 years, of course, it will be very evident that Germany, I think it's even some of the signs are coming right now. So it's not very good. I love Germany, so, and it's too bad you have, well, what a lot of people call, and myself also, traitors. You have traitors now that are running the country. These are agents apparently from the United States, I guess, and I don't know, Baerbock says that she cares more about Ukraine than she does about Germany, but I kind of think she cares more about the USA than she does about Ukraine. That's possible. Habeck, maybe the same thing. Schultz is nothing but he's a weak leader, and I think there's just too much corruption in his background, and I guess that has all been used, to do what he's doing right now. Sign on to destroying German industry. Very, very, very sad thing. Too bad a lot of these people of the world are not going to catch on to what their leaders are doing. I don't know. Maybe they know that in Germany. Nobody's has the power to change anything. They had some demonstrations, of course, and the revolution will not be televised, as you all know. So that's how that's working out. And I was watching something from Douglas McGregor as well, and he said something that I was talking about many months ago, that Russia, I remember it was this kind of like third-page news mentioning that when at the beginning of this special military operation, that a lot of the submarines left the Black Sea. Russian submarines, I think there were, I don't know if there were 5 at that time, but anyway, there was 5 listed. I think it was Andrei Martyanov. He mentioned that there were 5, at one point 5 submarines in the Atlantic. One of them was as far north as, somewhere near Norway. And then there was, I think, 2 right off the coast of the United States, not too far. And I think 1 a little bit further south down by Bermuda is, I wouldn't say Bermuda. I think it was maybe towards, I don't know, I get Bahamas and Bermuda mixed up, the islands are kind of out there. Anyway, they're like North Caribbean sort of thing. Not as far south as Cuba, which is not that far south, but it's, what do I say, off the coast, a little bit further off the coast of, I would say, South Carolina. So there was one, but maybe a little bit further south, because there was two of them were up. One was by New York sort of area, and one was by Washington, D.C., and the other one was, towards the south of the United States, but I guess you'd say it, I don't know, on Andrei Martyanov's display, he had huge wide circles around about the size of Texas, so very difficult to say exactly where that submarine, and of course it's probably just signifying the area, the general area where that submarine is patrolling anyway. And so Douglas McGregor was talking about that they have a whole big fleet. Maybe it's more than 5 now. Maybe they have a lot. I don't know how many nuclear submarines the Russians have, but they said this was some sort of a report that Colonel Douglas McGregor was giving. I think it was to Stephen Gardner. I'm not positive anymore, but he was just mentioning the submarines, and by now, since there may be a lot more submarines there at this time, and he was talking about how many nuclear weapons the United States has in all of Europe pointed at Russia, in all these various countries, and he was mentioning that the whole idea was to put these nuclear weapons in the Donbass. So as they took over Ukraine, the Nazis, the nasties, they were going to be putting a lot of nuclear weapons in the Donbass, of course pointed at Russia, because it's right there on the border. So very, very quick. They wouldn't even need hypersonic missiles to get to Moscow. Very short distance, just some minutes away. Maybe that's why the United States is so far behind in making hypersonic missiles, and Russia is much more advanced, is because there was no need for the United States to do so, because they have so many nuclear weapons that are so very close to Russia that they didn't need it. Yeah, nasty, nasty guys. Douglas McGregor also said that I think within 24 hours, and I think that was like the day before yesterday, that Ukraine had lost 1,600 military soldiers. I don't know, that's why I say soldiers, because I don't know. He said men, I think, but men, women. I think they drafted a lot of women into the military now too. Boys, older men. Anyway, they're killed 1,600. He didn't say injured and dead. He said dead. 1,600 dead for Ukraine in 24 hours, in a 24-hour period. And normally you see that number was around 200 to 300, but 1,600. That's quite a lot. It lets you know the intensity of what the fighting is going on there, and of course Russia has been destroying so many military weapons depots in the past week. Absolutely incredible. It makes you wonder. Ukraine says they're planning this offensive or counteroffensive, depending on your perspective, and makes you wonder if they have any capability at all to do any kind of offensive at all after this. I doubt it. Now, Zelensky's speech to the Arab world when he was there, he was, I don't know, I believe he was invited. It was sort of a quick decision. And it's always the same thing, with Zelensky. My Ukrainian Banderite government is all about love and peace and freedom, and Russia is all about hate, war, and enslavement. He talked a lot about Ukrainians in cages, and a lot about children, Yeah, why? So he said, they have Ukrainians in cages, and what does Ukraine do to Russian prisoners, I wonder? You ever heard of the organ trade? The young, healthy Russians that nobody ever hears of again, they're captured. And what other things do they do? What do they do to civilians even? You know, what is the track record of what Ukrainians do to Russian prisoners? A lot of times they're breaking their bones and tortures and who knows what, you know. And that's been known for all these years, even long before the military operation is concerned. Has started. They I don't know. You can find all that stuff out yourself. You know, don't believe me. You know. But anyway, the Ukrainians just did not get around to attacking Russia. You know, they were still killing their own people, I guess. You know, at the beginning of this, right before the military operation. You know, if you say that those territories are Ukrainian territories, and Ukraine was bombing them, admittedly bombing those people. In other words, they're killing their own people. You know, remember when Saddam Hussein was supposedly gassing his own people? And it took the United States many, many, many years to even acknowledge that, and then to go after Saddam Hussein. Obviously because that was American gas. And there's probably evidence. I bet you can find something that the United States knew all about that and was approving of it. So, yes, indeed. So Zelensky was telling them, well, he didn't. What he could have been telling the Arab League is, we're just minding our own business, killing our own people. We have a right to kill our own people. We have a right to do that. And now we have a right to kill Russians everywhere on earth. I guess that's what a lot of people are saying now. Some of the security people in Russia and Zelensky's aide, Mikhail Podolak, says that they have a right to kill Russians everywhere. They're cockroaches, they're orcs, they're species, they're not even humans, they're Russians. So. And of course, Zelensky was telling all the people of the Donbass that they should leave and they should go to Russia. Get out. In other words, it's sort of like ethnic cleansing. Russia calls it genocide, but I'll tell you what, maybe the long goal is genocide, but at that present time it was just ethnic cleansing, you know, cleaning the land of this inferior species of people that are ethnically Russian. Actually, they're not any different. They're not any different than the Ukrainians. The people have all intermixed for what, some hundreds of years. It's northern Slavic peoples, Belarusians, Ukrainians, and Russians. And then there are southern Slavs as well, you know, like Serbians and whatnot. But these are northern Slavic people, and they're basically all of the same genetic makeup. And I think that's one reason why so far the Ukrainians have not been successful in making genetic weapons. As you know, I've talked about that before, and there's records of that they've been trying to make genetic weapons that kill Russians. And they've even experimented on Ukrainians. I think it was a test, what was it, 43 Ukrainians, and I don't really know why what the genetic makeup of these men were, because they were soldiers, I believe, and all of them but one died, you know, by infecting them with viruses. I don't know if they had Russian ancestry, or some of them had what they determined no Russian ancestry. It shows you how much they care and are concerned about their own people even, or any people, any humanity at all. You know, but of course Zelensky, he told the Arabs that he loves humanity, of course, and the Russians don't. And what I was going to get at, what I was telling you about a little bit earlier, Zelensky, and you can find this speech somewhere on YouTube, he said that, he didn't say Putin, he said the Russians are like stealing hundreds of thousands of children from Ukraine, and they're taken to Russia. And of course, Putin never got a trial, like I said. And there's no evidence, of course. There's no evidence of hundreds of thousands. I can't remember how many that was taken from this one orphanage, of course, that was under attack by Ukraine. And there's even, as you know, evidence of organs taken from children by Ukraine. They're doing some really nasty stuff, and I guess they have no respect for any human life. Hundreds of thousands of children. In other words, more than the people that have died in the conflict. They've stolen that many children. And Zelensky says that they're indoctrinating these children to hate Ukraine and hate Ukrainians. But I guess, who was it? As a matter of fact, Mike Jones, I guess he had once somebody, when he was in the Donbass, he had a person there, and he was showing textbooks, Ukrainian textbooks, what they're teaching Ukrainians, and all kinds of falsifications and things. And they're teaching. I'll tell you what, this is projection. Zelensky is participating in direct projection, because what he is doing, he and the Ukrainians, of course, are doing, he accuses his enemy of doing. I guess that's what projection is. You accuse your enemy of what you yourself are doing. So that's what he is. And his whole speech was basically that sort of a thing. It was everything that the Russians do good, he says that the Ukrainians do good, and everything that they are doing bad, they say that the Russians are doing it. Like, who's putting prisoners in cages? In other words, that's telling you that Zelensky is putting Russian prisoners in cages. And then he also was saying that I think he said Russia was bombing the nuclear plant in Zaporozhye to blackmail Europe with a nuclear disaster. I think those were his words. And everybody knows who's bombing. Russia is there. Russia has their own people there, their own soldiers there. So how does that work when they bomb themselves? It's just astounding. And I don't know how many people, these Arab leaders, I don't know, Zelensky, I believe he believes that everybody, I believe that he believes that everybody is stupid and that anything he says is the truth. I guess that's like a God complex. Everything I say is the truth, and you can bet your life on it. But what was this guy's name? He was the military intel chief, Kirill Budanov. He was actually admitting that Ukraine government was behind all of these terrorist attacks. Was this Dugina? The first one, and bloggers, all this stuff. They're doing, and they said that they have like a right to kill. He was actually, implying that that he and maybe who is his agents, maybe everybody has a right to kill Russians anywhere on the face of the earth, at least until the military operation is ended in Ukraine's success. And and Zelensky was even talking about how peaceful he is to the Arabs, and he was telling them that he had proposed a 10-point peace plan, which was very, very fair. Russia has to leave all of those places, including the places that Ukraine likes to bomb their own citizens, that Russia is not allowed to protect them anymore. They have to leave those areas. And Putin has to step down and go on trial and be charged with war crimes. And then Russia has to pay huge reparations. That's a fair deal now, isn't it? And in exchange for all of that, then Ukraine will negotiate. Those are just the preconditions, I believe. So that's what that's all about. So anyway, and I was also going to talk about this nuclear scientist. He is a scientist on the European Committee on Radiation Risk, and he's from the UK. His name is Dr. Chris Busby, and he gave an interview, I guess it was to Sputnik, and that was really something, talking about that radiation. The radiation levels, like there's this black cloud or something supposedly, and it headed towards Poland, I guess. And initially, as we all know, and it was even put out that the radiation levels of, there's a part in where that's measured in Poland, and how they can measure these radiation levels is, I guess, after Chernobyl, they put in these measuring instruments in various places in Europe so that they can, see in real time what the radiation of these areas are. So at any one given time, you can see what the radiation level is. And I guess right after this, the bombing of this this weapons depot, that at one part in Poland, where the measuring equipment was, it really spiked. It spiked, and I think I've even seen this graph. It spiked really high. So, and of course, in Ukraine, in that city itself, they didn't even send humans in, as you know. They sent robots in to put out the flames of that bombing and things, because of the radiation levels are so high, so much radioactivity. Terrible, 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 terrible stuff. And then everybody knows what happened in Iraq, and the U.S. and the U.K. Depleted uranium munitions, and how many people got sick, and how many even U.S. service members' children are born with horrible birth defects, and all the birth defects in Iraq right now. And of course, the United States and the UK are saying it's perfectly safe. It's very mild, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And this Chris Busby, what he was implying, that, like I was telling you, they measured these radiation levels right away, right after this, and it's apparent. I don't know if he was implying this, but apparently, like, Poland turned off their equipment so that they can come out and say their National Atomic Energy Agency claims that there is no increase in radiation levels in Poland. Of course, you're not going to get any measurements of increases when you turn off the equipment. So in other words, they're just hiding it. They're hiding all the data, lying. What does this do for the people of Europe? And what happens if the Polish people find out about it? But it's also been put out that the biggest, disinformation, the biggest country that's most successful in disinformation is Poland, I guess, in Europe. And I remember reading something before that they're going to, whatever they're doing in Poland to disinform their people, they're going to be doing that all over in Europe. And of course, Germany is probably doing it right now too. This is really, I don't know, you call it InfoWars, This is really something, how they're messing with everybody's minds and lying and falsifying everything, and the projection, and you name it, crazy, crazy stuff. But the reporter, I think it was I don't know if it was from the reporter from this Chris Busby, they said that whoever supplies these, any of this weapon, any weaponry, but especially these weapons to Ukraine, they're morally bankrupt unless it is their intention to destroy the Ukrainian people. Obviously, when you think about this, and I've said this before, that, like Lindsey Graham being so happy that Ukraine is ready to sacrifice their entire people to the last Ukrainian. And the United States, I had taken some Soviet area studies classes back in the 1980s, and I'm sort of a product, I guess you would say, of the Cold War type things, and I went into the Army around that time, and it was kind of fascinating, and I met some people, and CIA had a program at my university as well. They were recruiting a lot of people there within that in that Soviet area studies program or whatever. I took a few classes is all, and I took some about East Germany, East and West a little bit at that time as well. But it's anyway, I'd met a few fascinating people back in those days, but the United States does not love the Ukrainians, and I highly doubt the UK does either. I don't even think the Europeans do. They actually kind of hate these people. They see Ukrainians as basically no different than Russians, and they're just playing along right now because they're using them as tools to kill Russians. And that's kind of obvious. Anybody that's watching this knows this, that the United States, sadly enough, They use people. They use people to go after their enemy. And who is their enemy? Their enemy is anybody that stands in the way of the economic and power supremacy of the United States, the full spectrum of dominance. So anybody that stands in the way of that, you know, is the target. And I tell you what, I don't even think that they would back the British. They wouldn't back anybody. And it's not the United States themselves. It's those people that actually control the United States. It's the very super rich billionaires and all that. And along with that, I should mention, I heard also, you know, a lot of this, what is it? Some of these crazy, somebody's watching me through a bill. I didn't think anybody was even there. If you talk about, what do they call this? Gender, all this gender stuff, and what is this? Gosh, what is that program they call in school? Something about black and white stuff, or some. Anyway, they're racist things. All of this, what is it? Oh, critical race theory. I think that's what it's called. That stuff is all funded by Bill Gates. I was so shocked. I didn't even know that. I did not know that. I thought he was just into the vaccines and all that sort of a deal, and the climate change and wanting to spread a bunch of chemicals in the air that reflect the sun and come down to the earth and poison food and things like that. You know, what is it? Some sort of a aluminum sulfate or something, anything, you know, something that poisons food. But of course it's worth it because we have to reflect the rays of the sun for global warming, which we don't have, by the way. Jeez. We have climate change. So at least they came up with the right word this time. Remember when they used to call it, in the old days, when I was studying this stuff, I just took a class on it. It was called the greenhouse effect. It was in ecology. I had a couple of ecology classes back in the university. You know, I always refer back to my past, you know, in the military and education, because you know, I appreciate education of any kind and experiences. But and then you gotta sometimes, you know, something when it bothers you and you think a little bit in the future, so that doesn't quite sit right with me, and you always remember these facts, and then in the future or the present as compared to the past, you get other information. Say, oh, that's what that was all about, you know. So, but yeah. But anyway, this stuff like the greenhouse effect, and then they kept changing the name, global warming, man-made global warming, you know. And it's all just nothing but a big money scam too. Everything is about money and power. Kind of makes you sick, doesn't it? Kind of makes you sick. Well, more than kind of, it really makes you sick. So anyway, that's why I make these videos, because I'm getting kind of sick, and you know, like talking at you people. I can't talk with you, but like I appreciate the comments too, you know, and I get a lot of good information from a lot of you people, so I appreciate it too. But I suppose I should end this video now, and I don't know, you just nice day here. Hopefully, I'm going back to Minsk today, and to our strange apartment, and hopefully, gosh, I hope things start to get done soon. You know, I think we're supposed to be getting I thought we were going to get our kitchen counter last week, but they just came in to measure, and who knows how long that's going to take. It doesn't take very long. Anyway, so if you're new here, you should subscribe, press that subscribe button. But if you've already subscribed, don't press that subscribe button, because then you're not subscribed anymore. I think I found that one out. I don't know. I subscribe to people sometimes, and then I find out later I'm not subscribed. I say, how did that happen? I think it was Jackson Hinkle. Why am I not getting any videos from Jackson Hinkle? And I found out that I was unsubscribed. Very strange. And I never pressed any kind of button like that. So I don't know if that happens to the rest of you. Somebody in YouTube probably unsubscribes you or something. I don't know. I'm not sold that I did a Joe Biden and I pressed the subscribe button another time. Double subscribe. So anyway then, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And until the next one, who knows when that's going to be. All kinds of exciting things going on. Oh, scared me. A guy came by on a bike. lets you know. I guess I'm a little jumpy, huh? But anyway, so I'll get out of here. And again, thanks for joining me. And I'll see you for the next one. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Bye-bye.